Everybody, thank you for tuning into the first episode of Nubian Shorties Night In. Let me get some love, y'all. Nubian Shorties Night In is when me and a few of my dope-ass peers just sit on my couch and talk about shit that's important to us. So we have Kadeja and Monique from We Come From Queens podcast, Diamond.
Hello.
Kayla from Bronx Narratives podcast, and Lancelot. Today we are going to talk about the cultural phenom of the Black Panther. And so first of all, how many times has everybody seen it?
Three times.
Okay, so I'm glad we both only seen it once. So let's start with Lance. How did you feel about Killmonger?
I love this character. I think that they portrayed him really well. I think that when it came down to when he made the statement to Black Panther when he first walked in about you're living like this, and there's billions of people that look just like you and not living like that. I think that in our society in general, we have situations where people are raised differently, so they can't understand somebody else's struggle. So
they can't have empathy.
Right. So it's like, oh, whatever, they forget about it. But I think that I wish that they would have kept him around longer, because I think that he would have had a big impact on Black Panther.
Anyone else? Did anybody else not like him?
I can't say I didn't like. Well, I didn't like him initially, but after watching it a few times, I started to understand him a little bit more as the movie went on. Yeah.
I think it's important though to make sure that we kind of say like it's not an argument whether you liked him or not, saying that you didn't like his militancy, because I don't think anyone's necessarily had an issue with that. It's more so about his personality and his merit behind his actions.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Right, but I think that if we consider his position, I think he embodies what Black people in America might be, or how we navigate, with the tools he's had. I didn't see him as militant. I saw him as me,
Mm-hmm.
and that's real. Like I've had conversations with people from the African diaspora from other places, and they're like, no, like that's not the way. And I'm like, fuck that, fuck that,
No, because like James Baldwin says, like if you have any sort of consciousness in America as a Black person, you're gonna be angry.
Right. You're gonna be angry
all the time. So I understand his anger. I think
that there's no nice way to reclaim what colonialism has taken from
at
it.
all.
There's no way to be polite about it. There's no way to say, hey, like I have literally been devoid of these resources my entire life. I've had to survive this way. Can I please have these things back? Nah, fuck that. What's up?
Did you think like the fight between the two was kind of a fight between like our everyday struggle and what we've grown to know versus the respectability of who Black Panther was?
Yeah.
Like respectability politics came into play a lot, I felt.
Yeah.
Because I think it was more than just like the African American. I feel like it more so was Black Panther was the good Black guy because he came from money, and even though
he spoke nicely and he was willing to work with others and
exactly.
He had the clean-cut appearance.
I think it's important that you said respectability politics, because being that I don't come from an African continent country, but my mom's West Indian, so they play a lot of, not necessarily my mom per se, but still respectability with West Indians versus Americans. So that was definitely a relatable thing, experience that you're saying that I was fighting.
And do you think like Wakanda, essentially it was inevitable for Killomonger to be created because he's the only Black man in California growing up, seeing the struggle, that knew it existed. Whereas for everybody else, that's just a fairy tale for us. Right. We don't even think there's a way out of it.
Right. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily. Nakia was very aware. She was.
No, I mean, is who Killomonger came to be. Do you think it was inevitable that once people started to know Wakanda existed, that Black people and people who look like Wakandans
would be upset?
We're gonna be angry.
Not necessarily. Only because I feel like his issue, I think, was deep-seated in the way that they killed his father.
Right.
And how they, so as much as he said, there's so many people that look like us that are struggling. And I think to a point he believed that, but I feel like more so his motivation was revenge for his father. I don't necessarily think that it couldn't, like that is inevitable. I think if they dealt with it the way that T'Challa was saying, like, why did you leave him? Like, I feel like if they took him, or if they maybe didn't take him but took care of him, then he wouldn't have had that reaction. I don't think he would have responded the way he did.
He probably still would have harbored some anger though.
Yeah.
Because my father was killed, you know, and I'm still out here.
Oh, right.
And the next layer is that he was abandoned too.
Right,
That they
right,
just up and left him.
Right. And so that's what I'm saying. I think if they did take care of him, I mean, I guess definitely killing his dad. That's just like you do not recover from that. But I do think if they did take care of him, maybe the mess that he was creating wouldn't have been as big as it was.
I agree.
I just think I think he used that to then want to go into Wakanda and say, all right, well, I'm going to destroy this place.
I do think that he used his anger because of he had the motive to say, like, not only did you destroy my world, I'm going to come here and destroy your world. Because essentially, once he burned, like, what was the special flower?
Red garden.
Yeah.
The heart-shaped
Once
flower,
he did all that, like, it showed me that means once I'm not here, y'all can't even survive.
Right.
So I understand that, but I also think for us, it's a fairy tale that there's this place that hasn't been touched by imperialism, colonialism. But he knew.
It was real.
So the fact that you haven't saved me or haven't saved us and haven't even saved Africa and you're there,
Right.
I feel like that has anger that is more deep-seated than just you killed my dad. Because I think he knew what his dad did was wrong. Because at the end of the day, you want to save black people, but then the first person you run to is a white man that's an arms dealer.
Right.
And I think that it speaks to the larger conversation about how we kind of like look at other people and say, well, like, what do you do for your community? You know, and we talk about status, and that conversation comes up a lot in my personal circle regarding celebrities, because it's like, well, this celebrity makes X amount of money. Why aren't they doing what so-and-so does with their money? You know, and it's because of the way capitalism works, a lot of it is rooted in survival, you know? And so if I make $1 million, I ain't never had that kind of money before. I'm going to hold on to it. I'm going to be very tight with it. There's always going to be someone who makes less than me that's going to feel like I could do more. You got a $32,000 job. There's always going to be someone who makes minimum wage who feels like you could be doing more. And so for me, that was the Killmonger versus Wakanda thing. Like, y'all could be doing more, but Wakanda's like, nah, we trying to survive and stay untouched and stay safe. You know, so it's just really about perspective, you know?
So then does that say, so on your point, does that say more about Wakanda and how they feel the strength of the white male population is?
Yes.
Because even though I have all of this influence, I have, what is it called? Vibranium. I have our intelligence. However, we know if we let a few of y'all in, it's going to destroy everything.
It's over. And that's what it is. It was really about the fear of the institution of whiteness penetrating. And not just white people, but the institution of whiteness.
Right.
Which is why they didn't like Killmonger, because his tactics are very, I'm going in and I'm taking it. And the only other time they've ever seen that is from white people invading.
As he said in the museum, oh, this item's not for sale. He was like, you think that your people bought it?
Right. You know, and so that's for me, it was just like, oh.
Yeah.
And then Agent Ross also said that he was trained though by CIA, so his practices were that of the colonizers.
Right.
Still on how he was going about it.
So with like Wakanda's xenophobia and stuff, right? Do you think once now that they start letting everyone in, that there's gonna be like a Make Wakanda Great Again campaign that happens? Because you know, Get Out, because I'm not gonna remember his name. Wakabi. He like, first of all, no new friends, homie. Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Right. He was dating that white girl in the last movie.
Like, he get on my nerves. But anyway, so in the beginning of the movie, he was all like, oh, once you start letting other people in, we have to deal with other people's problems.
Right.
And I instantly thought of Trump in the shithole countries. But then like 10 minutes into the film, he was all like, let's ride for Kilmonger and let's give everybody weapons, which I didn't understand. But yeah, so back to like him not wanting to deal with the world's problems, and basically, do you think Wakanda's going to be like, yo, we got to make Wakanda great again, so we have to push everybody out, and let's be real, everybody's going to be a lot of people that look like us.
I think that sometimes we make the mistake of assuming that change needs to happen where the change began. You know, so the idea that everybody kind of goes to Wakanda and then it's lit, I don't think that should be so. I think that whatever intelligence or science or advancements Wakanda has, needs to be spread out. So
Yeah, I don't think
you
they're
don't
about to
gotta
let
come to
people in
me.
really just
I
yet.
can
Yeah.
come to you. Let's go to Compton. Let's go to Oakland. Let's go to the Bronx. Let's go go to Brooklyn. You know what I
I'm
mean?
still trying to catch a flight to Wakanda.
they're not about to let everyone in just yet, though.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah, I think-
just like in Wakanda reality, right? Though, but they definitely finally, like was said in the end credit scene, this is gonna be spoilers. There's no reason why by the time this comes out, people shouldn't have seen it.
Right, you
But
know
that they're gonna they're going to be sharing their resources with others, and similar to what they're doing in Oakland, I'm sure that they're gonna be doing that in other communities and inner cities and stuff like that. So I think they're gonna definitely start opening their mind because they have Nakia and Kilmonger did make a lot of good points, but they're not really gonna be bringing in a lot of people just yet, though.
Right. Like y'all can't come here.
They can't.
Come see y'all.
And then I don't know how much comic like geeks, nerds, and stuff that you are, but there's about to be a big fight in Wakanda, so it's not gonna be a good time
Right.
for other people who don't have some sort of superpowers coming.
But like with that, because I know before I even saw Black Panther, I saw the promotion for the new Infinity movie, and my first thought was, you see what happens when you let white people in? We get white people's problems,
No,
and
this
like
is
I
true.
get it, it's a humanity problem. They come to get whatever stones, whatever. But I instantly felt that way, and I was like, this is how Wakandans are gonna feel.
Yeah.
They like as soon as you go to United Nations, look, now we have wars. Like,
To touch on the Get Out with the whole no new friends thing, it came down to Killmonger had a sentimental did a sentimental thing for him in terms of, remember, Black Panther let Claw get away,
I know.
and then he couldn't. But then that touches on in actual society, where though this one black kid, he gets certain scholarships from their school, so he forgets about where he came from, and that happens a lot because his vice and everything, whatever case may be, was filled basically. Like, so he's taken care of, so he forgets about everybody else. So with him, Black Panther technically forgot about him, so this person held him down.
Oh,
So it was
okay.
like, forget everybody else.
I didn't look at it that way.
Yeah, neither did
Yeah.
I. But to that point, even talking about the scene where he almost killed Claw and Nakia was like, no, the world is watching. I think that might be a euphemism or a metaphor for respectability politics.
That's good.
More than just his character or just what he represented in general. I don't think that him being, from a rich family or speaking a particular way, or I don't think that he was the model of respectability politics. I think in that moment when he didn't do it, although I can understand, like, these people here are not familiar with Black Panther. They don't know who he is. They don't know where he comes from. They don't know. But at the same time, when she was like, no, don't do it, I think that was just like, why not? Like, why?
But
because everybody else is watching?
That plays into like one of us represents all of us.
Right. Which is interesting too, to have Wakanda be this place that's completely untouched by imperialism and colonialism, and really they don't deal with racism inside Wakanda, but to still be conscious of what being black looks like on camera and what that might mean for everybody else, And there were small moments in the movie like that where it was like, if these people are untouched, then there should have never been that moment where she's like, no, wait, what will they think of
I
you?
think he was educated outside of Wakanda, though. I read a little bit of his bio. I think he was educated in Europe or something like that. So he's aware of racism. They just are like, we not bringing that shit back here, type stuff. But I feel like with Kilmonger, I really wanted them, even though, of course, you only have a certain amount of time, I wanted them to kind of go more into, like, his relationship with his mother.
Yeah.
Because I felt like the way he treated women in the movie, he had a lot of anger towards black women as well. So, like, even with, like, when the elder, he choked her up. And, like, I went to see the movie with all black women. And, like, literally everybody was like, oh, nah, you bugging now. We done with you before, but you're bugging.
Too far.
Yeah, like, and I feel like that's very, like, it symbolizes essentially how black women are treated. Like, even though you can know we're here for you, you can know, like, what we're doing is for the benefit of us as a people and as a race, and we're protecting you, but still we're discarded if it's not something that's in line with patriarchy. And because really.
Right, and even when he shot the girlfriend.
I was thinking the
Sure
same
did.
thing. I was like,
Yeah, I skipped over that part.
He was just like, I help you.
But
I'll just
right.
shoot her myself.
She was considered a villain, so, we allowed it. But again, that's still respectability.
I was still confused because she held you down.
And that's why I was saying, like, he's not necessarily a villain. He's an anti-hero, but he was a bit too extreme. And that extreme was just the way that he just wanted to step over. Like he was stepping over everybody. Like everybody could get the woman. He wanted to burn all the plants. He burned that. He choked up the woman. He did that. He shot
His
Shorty.
little girlfriend.
He shot his girlfriend. Like I understand. I think understanding somebody's anger and frustration is one thing, but I think once you begin to take that and put it into an action, I think you are responsible for that. And I understand that he has the tools, like those were the tools he was given. But the reason he was taking revenge is because he realized there was an injustice done to him. So that was a tool he had. He was cognizant of the fact that something wrong was done to me. I'm gonna lash out. But on the same breath, he was like, I'm gonna lash out on everybody. Like he wasn't for anybody, but
himself.
I
think he essentially felt like he didn't have anything to lose.
Right.
What is he living for?
Right.
So,
Right.
his dad's gone. He doesn't have anybody here for him.
Just
so.
kill his baby mom. I think though that his entire struggle was an embodiment of what it means to seek power when you have nothing.
Okay.
Because once you start gaining, once you hit that, once your trajectory begins, nobody's gonna stop this, you know? And when I think about, like you think about the stories that are made famous about people who were homeless or had parents that were absent or whatever, navigated different systems, and now they're these big, huge millionaires, and you don't see them, you don't hear about them, because it's like, nah, like I'm not gonna let anything interrupt this skyrocket. Not at all.
Right.
And also, it's about regaining your power the same way you saw it taken from you.
Right.
But I think the difference though is that maybe he didn't have a plan. Like I don't think he had a plan for what was gonna happen after these weapons were gone. After he dispersed this vibranium and people were turning up everywhere, killing the colonizers.
Yeah, because everybody that's your skinfolk ain't your kinfolk.
Right. So
right.
it's like, all right, what happens after that? Now everything's in disarray. You know, what happens? Like there was no plan. He didn't have a plan. I think he just wanted to ransack everything. And so I feel like I get it. I get I get why he did what he did. No, I mean I say I get why he was so angry, but just
there has to be a plan. Like if you really want to benefit us, you have to plan.
Right. And
Also,
also he didn't want to benefit.
His vision was short-sighted too, because if we're talking about capitalism in the rest of the world, them weapons wasn't going to your cousin. They was going to Mr. Johnson somewhere in somebody's office. Like, you know what I mean? And Mr. Johnson don't look like you. You know what I mean? Like, you wasn't going to be in charge of nothing either.
Okay, and then what about the women's leadership roles? Because I've seen a lot of women in the movie that were in leadership roles, and to me, Black Panther was just the figurehead. And I think that says a lot about even like our movement. There's a lot of times women are working so hard and diligently in the background, but we just need a figurehead so the world can hear us, so the world can feel our strength.
One thing I could say is that I like the fact that it was all Black women before it came down to the military, so that shows his strength. Then without his sister, it was like, realistically, you just a regular hero in a sense.
And she's 16.
Right.
Child.
I didn't even
She was brilliant, you know what I mean? From his mom's perspective, it's like he went to her for guidance. So it's like, yeah, it's Black Panther's about the movie, but at the end of the day, it was the Black woman. Even when he went to, I think China, whatever it may be, he had 2 women with him.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it was just, I feel like if our society acknowledged that and imitated that in a sense, it would be better off with us as a whole. Because it's just, Black women was like the strength and foremost.
But I think we do imitate that. Because we already do it.
Yeah.
You know, there's about 14
It's just not
Black Panthers in
acknowledged.
my
Right.
life right now, you know? And I think that I didn't think it was spectacular, like the role that women played in the movie, because it's literally what we already do anyway. And it happened exactly how it happens in real life, where you have this entire village of femmes, specifically Black femmes, supporting you, holding it down. And you succeed and you excel, and it's
I
fantastic.
think it's necessary that it was seen, though.
Right.
Because a lot of times, the movie would just be about the man and that's it, rather than, you need the production, you need everything that's going on. So the fact that we've seen like the behind the scenes, I think it was very necessary for us.
Yeah, I think it was necessary for men and for other people to see.
Because we already know,
Right.
Because we feel the emotion.
Right, I was like,
labor.
of
I also
course.
feel like you guys know at the same time it's not portrayed in movies a lot. Because there's a lot of times like a maid or something like that. This was a situation where you guys were empowered, period. It wasn't something that...
Even the maid is empowered though, because we taking care of your kids.
Oh yeah, but in terms of society-wise, just how it's viewed, like, you know what I mean? So you've seen that, like, little girls could see, oh, there was a queen, there was a scientist, there was, a warrior. It wasn't that there was a slave or something like that, you know? So I think now the visually aspect, it was good. You could know something, but to see it is better.
Also, I want to chime in why it was so important that this was depicted in a movie format, even though we know that this is how it is in life. It was reported, I don't know, I guess within the last 2 years or so, that in Harry Potter, for instance, in that whole movie franchise, with people of color, they only had 7 minutes of speaking time. If you think how long a Harry Potter film is, if you think about how many Harry Potter films is, to only have 7 minutes of people in color, and then break that down by gender. So it's so important to have this represented on a movie scale, because think of all the speaking time each woman had, all the screen time she had independent of a man, even though it's still for him. You had Lupita, she had a moment where she's like taking off her shoe. That's something so often in movie making that's like, how are women doing all these things in heels? That's not practical. So for her to say, no, taking off my heel
and
to
throwing
fight.
off that wig.
Right, and throwing off that wig.
Ponytail in the movie.
That's like all these things that's so like embedded in feminism or femininity. And it's like, okay, disregarding that because like I have this work to do. And it is very important, even though we know it behind the scenes, that it's like, this is it here in front of you. And it's just like, they say like most times with movies, women are only in a scene because it's to move the male character forward, right? And that does happen a lot with Black Panther, but it was still very important for these women to have their solo shots, solo scenes, and for them to just be their full selves, independent still of the Black Panther.
And my last question, I know we kind of touched on it a little bit when you were telling us about how sometimes we feel like people don't do enough, and it's basically what scale you are on capitalism. But does anybody feel like the outreach center wasn't enough?
I think it's a start. I mean, we don't really know what the outcome will be, but I think it's definitely a start, and I think it's important that they placed it where they did because of all that happened prior to. So I think for now it's enough.
Because I know, maybe it's because I'm little old poor Tiffany that don't got Wakanda cash, but I'm like, my instant thought was start with Africa. Because I feel like, I get it. We want to come here because Kilmonger was from Compton.
Right.
But I'm just like, before you start telling the world we're going to help everybody, I feel like help Africa first, because then those resources could be spread out better.
I mean, I just think from the stance of the movie, just thinking about Wakanda specifically, they have all that they could possibly need, so they're just branching out to California.
And lastly, who are we voting for the next president and vice president of Wakanda? Who
There's
you
no
got?
elections in Wakanda.
Well, if it,
There's none of that.
If it wasn't no, because I was with Killomonger when he was like, nah, I'm not doing all that fighting stuff again. Like, I'm king. Because I was like, that's what the fuck T'Challa should have said in the beginning. But if we had to vote, let's start with Lance. Who you got?
I'm going to say his bodyguard, the reason why I forgot her name.
Okoye?
Yeah. The reason why I'm going to say her is because when Black Panther died and they was trying to like leave and everything, she was like, I'm loyal to the throne.
Yeah.
And that was kind of profound because it didn't matter who was basically sitting there. It was basically loyal to the cause. So like, for me, that I would definitely choose her.
What about you, Kayla?
I would have to go. I know she probably wouldn't want to do it, but I would have to go with Nakia. I think she would be fit in terms of taking care of what's going on in Wakanda, but also with relations outside. I think she'd be able to hold that down. So I would say Nakia.
Diamond?
I'm team Lil Sis.
Okay. I feel personally so torn because I want to agree with everybody. I think also because I know she won't do it, but I feel like Nakia for the same reasons.
Yeah, and I'm really struggling between Nakia and Shuri. The only reason why I wouldn't say Shuri is because I feel like she's really powerful where she is. So sometimes you can't move people out of a certain position because that's just like where they're strongest. So yeah, I'm just torn between those two.
I'm going with Nakia because I feel like she was the most well-rounded when it came to preserving her culture as well as saving other people. Because I think she was like, it was kind of Nods was to bring out girls. You know,
With the Boko Haram.
Yeah.
when she in the beginning when she was helping the little girls, but also for VP, I got Mabaku because you need somebody on your team that
Listen, can we talk about Mabaku?
Yeah, listen, that's a whole nother
That's
episode.
another video.
Because Mabaku.
You know his name.
Well, thank you everybody for participating on the first episode. I really appreciate you guys and all of your opinions. And thank you everybody for watching. I really appreciate. And make sure you go into the description to see all of the information for the event we have coming up for Nubian Shorties Night Out on April 8th. And our Golden Parachute Black Business Mixer, if you're interested in vending or even just coming through to network, make sure you go look at that information right in the description box. And again, thank you for everybody for coming. And that is Nubian Shorties Night In. Till the next time on the couch.